do wrong.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our Young Farmers Late Show. My name is Sebastian, and again, it is such a pleasure to co-host you for 1 hour. We are live from this amazing Blue Point studio in Brussels, together with Anna.
Welcome back, everyone. We are very excited to have you connected tonight. As promised, tonight's show is about skills and innovation. But that's not all.
Also, a small reminder for those of you who join us for the first time. With this late show, we want to bring more EU to your farms, and for those of you in Brussels, we want to bring more farming to the EU. So, and with the recent news, well, it's easy to understand that it is worth it. So, a lot has happened across Europe since the start of 2024. We'll have an Agri-News update. We'll also have guests bringing their expertise to look at what happened over the last 5 years.
This promises to be interesting, but this is not all. We will also welcome a young farmer, a researcher, and a representative of DG Agri for our session, A Pinch of Innovation. And stay until the end, because we will be joined by Rudolf Spulkstenis, Vice President of CEJA, to discuss the priorities of young farmers ahead of the European elections 2024.
This show is interactive. You have the possibility to be with us remotely. You can either use the chat column that you have on the right of your screen, either scan the QR that should be right now in the corner of the screen. So please use it to react, comment, and last but not least, to ask questions to our guests.
And I'd say, let's dive in.
Seven minutes of Agri-News, big challenge, but we take it. So remember, in the first episode, we were already giving you some updates about a famous strategic dialogue on the future of agriculture. Well, it's happening. 28 EU stakeholders are in the middle of this process: farmers, food processors, retailers, NGOs, consumers organizations, etc. So we could say that the aim is twofold: to create dialogue by getting everyone around the same table, and to come up with recommendations on the future of the sector. This should be done by September, so we can feel it. There is a momentum to speak about agriculture. We've never talked that much about farming than in the last few months, and now many people are aware of it, right?
Yes, and while agriculture took a more preeminent place on the Commission's agenda, farmers have taken the streets. In fact, the farm protests that started in Germany in December 2023 spread across Europe in January and February. We have seen tractors everywhere, in the snow in Latvia, on boats in Malta, and in front of the European Parliament in Brussels. The movement has taken a large scale because of shared concerns and the challenges shared across Europe.
The farmers' demonstrations have indeed taken place across divides. So CEJA published a joint statement co-signed by its member organization across Europe, calling for peaceful actions and a long-term vision for the sector.
And those demonstrations have gotten answered by the European institutions in the form of a simplification package to amend the common agricultural policy. Can you let us know more about it, Sebastian?
Yeah, so in the conditionality, GAG 8 would no longer exist. GAG 6 and 7 will be more flexible. There are other targeted exemptions to several GAGs, temporary derogation to several GAGs. That doesn't say a lot, I have to admit. Simplifying is like herding cats. It sounds easy until you try it.
That sounds a bit confusing. So maybe let's take a few measures and explain them. For GAIC 6 on soil cover during sensitive periods and GAIC 7 on crop rotation, the proposed simplification is to make the regulatory calendars more flexible, to adapt them to the actual circumstances on the farm. Why that? Because last autumn, due to weather conditions, many farmers could not respect calendars and comply with regulatory requirements. Not only are such calendars not always adapted to the production cycles on the farm, but they also lack agility when it comes to facing extreme climate events and other exceptional circumstances.
So on this, the Commission proposed the package mid-March. Member states agreed to go forward with these measures under what we call the urgency procedure. Same for the Comagri earlier this week, and this morning there was even a debate in the ENVI committee about that. But now let's see the vote next week in the plenary of the European Parliament. Then in parallel, there are other measures not yet proposed, but in the pipelines.
Yes, indeed. Additional measures on the food supply chain are also expected, like the creation of new rules on cross-border enforcement of the Directive Against Unfair Trading Practices. This would foster cooperation between different national enforcement authorities, and because of that, it could help to fight against retailers installing their headquarters in different member states to avoid some purchasing rules, for instance?
Yes, those new measures come as an addition to the legislative files that are still stuck on the legislative train. So despite what we could think with the elections that are coming, it is still a very busy time and a very busy period in the European institutions. So with the mandate ending soon, the new MEPs can already prepare their heavy backpacks.
That is true. The European elections are taking place between the 6th and the 9th of June this year. Don't forget to go to vote. Brussels is already buzzing with events with the hopeful candidate MEPs. I also heard that the European parties have chosen their lead candidates.
Yes, so we have most of the names already, but I will maybe rectify. People from the Brussels bubble have their names, because it's true that after all, EU elections are happening at national level with national lists. So farmers would probably agree that Europe is Brussels, but not only, it's also our beautiful territories where MEPs are now campaigning.
I still would say that it's important. The lead candidate system is copied on the system of Spitzenkandidaten, which would mean that the president of the European Commission would be the lead candidate of the party that wins the European elections. But in practice, the last word is often the one of member states rather than European elections. This means that the lead candidates could end up with leading nothing.
Well, let's see how the situation evolves in autumn with the nomination of the next European Commission. Speaking this time of member states, a lot has been going on in the candidate member states pool. The negotiations are now open for Bosnia-Herzegovina and Georgia. It is time for candidates to show their most convincing performances. We want the best show, the best lyrics, the more sparkling outfit, fire effects. 12 points go to Georgia.
That sounds a lot like Eurovision to me, Sébastien.
Mixed up. Candidate member states must close 35 negotiation chapters on subjects such as social policy, employment, food safety, or competition policy. So it does take more time than to qualify for Eurovision. 9 countries are currently members in the candidates pool, let's say. Montenegro, Serbia, Turkey, North Macedonia, Albania, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, and Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Well, I'd say we'll stay tuned on that. And let's close the agri-news for today. This is, of course, a list of selected events, so don't hesitate to inform yourself through other news channels.
And we managed in 7 minutes.
Amazing. In just a few weeks, European citizens will go back to the voting box to elect our next members of European Parliament. We will also have a new College of Commissioners at the European Commission soon. It is thus the perfect moment to make a little recap and reflect on the milestones of the last 5 years in the agri-food policy making in the EU. We are therefore welcoming Natasha Futz, a freelance journalist who has been a key observer and will give her reflection on the last mandate. Welcome, Natasha.
Hello, hi. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Young Farmers Late Show.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be kind of on the other side? You are the one asking the
Yeah,
questions.
normally I'm giving the questions. I'm taking them. Not sure how I feel about that, but I'm ready for the challenge.
It's a lot of pressure. So to start with, we've seen that there are lots of things happening at the moment, but maybe before going to that, on the bigger picture of the last 5 years, because we know we're going to have the EU elections, what's your take on this 5-year mandate, and how do you see agri-food policy making evolving?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's been quite a ride in this last 5 years. So yeah, you're right. It's good time for a recap. Yeah, so I mean, when I first started covering EU agri-food policy about 5 years ago, I mean, I really came to Brussels right at the moment of the unveiling of the Farm to Fork and the Green Deal. And yeah, it's been quite a ride since. I mean, when I first came, there was Brexit. And actually, funnily enough, we thought at the time that was going to be the biggest crisis the EU was going to face. Of course, we didn't know that COVID and Ukraine were around the corner, and those have obviously had such a huge influence in shaping agri-food policy. I think probably, yeah, it's been such a change. It's not really been an evolution or a gradual evolution. There's been some really sharp changes. It's probably quicker and easier to list the things that didn't change than the things that did. But I would say also even in terms of the general approach. So I remember when I first came, we had the Environment Commissioner saying at the time that food security was no longer an issue, for example. I remember that very clearly right at the start when I came. And of course, with COVID, with Ukraine, we've seen food security come to the fore again as a huge issue in all of the policy discussions we're having. So yeah, it's been keeping me busy, shall we say, the last 5 years. Yeah.
But was it as busy as now 5 years ago, or it's just different?
It's different. It's definitely been very intense in the last few months with the farmers' protests, as we spoke about the simplification package or the changing of the cap. But it's been pretty consistently intense throughout both COVID and Ukraine, all of them having massive knock-on effects on the agri-food sector. So trying to keep up with that has been more than a full-time job.
I guess this calls for a lot of questions in the chat. We are hoping for them soon already. Yes, and you mentioned crisis. And indeed, in this mandate, we have faced the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine. Yeah. They all had major effects on agriculture. What was the most challenging moment for agri-journalists?
That's a good question. They all brought their challenges in different ways. I think operating as a journalist during COVID was very challenging, even in the sense of accessing information. I mean, if you remember back at that moment, we didn't even have digital events or digital streaming of press conferences, things like that, accessing sources, accessing information. That was a huge challenge. And of course, as well, keeping up with the pace of change of the impacts that COVID had on the agri-food sector. Ukraine also brought its specific challenges. For example, I mean, my kind of very bubble-focused or EU-focused work has suddenly expanded into a kind of geopolitical element. Also trying to verify things that were happening on the ground in Ukraine was impossible. So it's very difficult having to get new sources of information, create new connections with farmers on the ground in Ukraine, with farmers associations. But I would say actually, if you say what was the most challenging moment, I would actually maybe argue these last few months have been the most challenging moment. Really reflecting the complexity of the farmers' frustrations through into articles, into the work that we're doing, understanding, going deeper, navigating misinformation, navigating new procedures that are coming left, right, and centre, has been a really very challenging moment for me, actually.
What's the recipe communication-wise? Because I feel like as a journalist, you can struggle to try to make it as simple as possible. It's the same for farmers' organization. It's the same for policymakers.
Yeah, it's such a fine balance between simplifying the message and actually bringing across the complexity, because underlying all these farmers' protests, I think it can be very easy to pit, say, farmers against the environment. Farmers don't want the environmental measures. It's such a gross oversimplification of the real issues that are driving this. So I've been trying very much to try and bring the farmers' voice into the work that I do, into the articles I do. I find that very important, and really trying to reflect the complexity of the kind of the foundation of the problems.
And were the farmers heard enough over this 5 months?
Yeah.
Not taking only the last few months, the 5 years, sorry.
It's a good question. I mean, I did my best. I did my best from my side. But it can be difficult to access farmers actually from very. I mean, it depends if we're talking about national media or or EU media. It can be difficult to find the farmers that want to talk to media, that are comfortable doing it, to properly understand. So yeah, I mean, I always try and bring that farmer's voice through as much as I can. But I won't lie, I think it has been a challenge for people, especially as in a lot of media, they don't necessarily have specialist agricultural journalists. And so I've found myself really called on to, by different media here, there and everywhere saying, we don't understand how to navigate this because they don't have a specialist journalist, and it is a complicated, a complicated subject matter.
That's why if we have farmers in the audience, don't hesitate to comment and also ask your question.
Do.
Make your voice being heard. What was the funniest moment of this 5-year mandate?
Funniest moment. There are so many funny moments and absurd moments that I don't know how I got myself into these situations. But I think my funniest moment reflects just how varied a day-to-day life can be in the EU bubble. I mean, no 2 days are the same. And I remember one day I was in the Parliament for something. I mean, it's not related to agri-policy. Well, it's vaguely related. I was in the European Parliament for something, and we found out that the actor Mark Ruffalo was in the Parliament. Mark Ruffalo, he's the Hulk. Yeah. So he was in the Parliament talking about water pollution. And actually, me and my ex-editor, we found out that Mark is actually a farmer himself. So he's actually a dairy farmer. So we wanted to get some comments from him about, about irrigation, water use, something to connect the two. And I ended up chasing him through the Parliament for an interview, unsuccessfully, but it was a very funny day. Sadly, but Mark, if you're listening, I'd be up for an interview.
I think it's already a great anecdote, but maybe what would be the anecdote of this mandate that you will keep with you?
Again, there's so many different anecdotes. Perhaps I might say maybe the time that I had a kind of impromptu interview with the ex-Vice President of the Commission, Frans Timmermans, on a farm. So we were on a farm and we were looking at different agroforestry systems on this farm and talking about the nature restoration law. And I ended up having an interview with him and speaking about this. Turns out he's also really into photography. He was showing me all the photos of his dog that he had. But actually, the reason I find it an interesting anecdote is that in the end, it turns out it was, if not the last, one of the very last when he was at his position in the Commission, because it was right before he left, and also right before, there's all the talk of the nature restoration law, and then again all the discussions over the farm to fork various strategies that were lost somewhere along the way. So it's actually, on reflection, a really key moment.
Is it a rule to have dogs as a Green Deal executive vice president? Because Mr. Šefčovič also shared his pictures of dogs.
Yeah, I don't know. I should ask more about the pets. Yeah, I don't know.
I would say now, maybe going more on recent developments. We actually got a video sent to us by Kevin, a young farmer from Finland. I would say let's watch it together. Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Kevin Lillonga, and I'm 23 years old, farmer from Finland. And I was asked about some problems that we're facing as young farmers. And one that I would like to address is the amount of bureaucracy surrounding farming and all new directives and requirements that you have to meet, and also the ones that we already have and the ones that may be coming in the future. I know there's a lot of discussion of the amount to reduce the amount of bureaucracy, but I haven't really seen a lot of that yet, but maybe it's on its way. And I'm just an arable farmer, so I don't even want to know the amount of rules and regulations there are surrounding animal welfare and animal farming.
We just saw in Kevin's video the concern he has for increased bureaucracy on his farm. This was also a major issue that was mobilized in the farmer demonstrations. We have recently seen the proposal of a simplification package of the European Commission. We already mentioned it earlier. Mm-hmm. This is different from the usual approach the Commission takes. Should this hint us at a change in policy-making approach in the future?
God, I hope not. From my perspective, it's been very complicated to keep up with what's going on. But genuinely, it's been really very chaotic to access information about how this is going to play out, how this process plays out. I think it's been a very speedy process here, and I think that has raised a lot of concerns actually over the legitimacy of the process. The fact that there's no impact assessment, the fact that the consultation process, there's also been a lot of concerns raised over that. The legality of it, the Parliament has been looking into the legality of it. It's been very, very difficult to navigate this. And I think, I do understand, of course, the need, the urgency to act. I understand that, of course, the burden of the bureaucracy on the farmers has been something that has been an issue for a long time. I've been hearing farmers talk about this for the whole 5 years I've been covering this issue. But I do think, looking at policy making going forward, it's very important not to sacrifice long-term sustainability, overarching sustainability ambitions for short-term gains and short-term political wins. And I also think for farmers, these kind of policy directions, they can't afford to change with the political winds. There has to be some certainty also, and some certainty in the vision, the direction that keeps sustainability at the heart. And when I talk about sustainability, I'm talking about economic as well as environmental. Because really, if anything, the last 5 years has taught us we are facing kind of concurrent crises. We're in a kind of perma-crises, if you like. And so, we can't, the policy has to adapt to that reality, the new reality we're facing.
The long-term certainty, as you say, but also how to take the information, because, and is it your role as journalists to carry this information and make also the efforts to, because now we have legislative process, we don't know if it's already implemented, and this also has an impact on farmers' decisions on their farm.
Of course,
so who's responsible in all of this?
Who's responsible? I don't think journalists are responsible, but we do have a very important role in translating what's happening here. It's really complex for everyone. Even I've been working in this for 5 years, and I'm just like, what is this procedure that we're doing? How does this work? And so I think we play the role we should play is really translating this in a way that's accessible so people can understand the very real impacts this has, as you said, on the ground, on decisions, on future decisions as well.
Yes. So there is, because it's so busy, as we can understand, we also have this situation where not all the files that were in negotiation went through the full process, and now we will have the new mandate with the EU elections. How do you see it evolving in the next mandate, if this time around we look a bit more at after?
Yeah, I definitely think farming will remain a key defining theme for this year, not just around the elections, I think also beyond that as well. We've seen all the European parties, really vying to be the Farmers' Party. I'm the Farmers' Party. I'm the Farmers' Party. And I think it really has, I think it has highlighted the need to make policies farmer-centric and to start from the farmer and start from the farm. And so I think in that sense, I think that's kind of a theme that will be carried forward into the start of the next mandate. In terms of the actual policy files, as you said, there's been a lot that were lost along the way or didn't materialise, or, still question marks over. A lot of the farm to fork kind of initiatives were lost somewhere along the way. I think one of them that never materialised that I think could come back again and could be interesting is the Sustainable Food Systems Law. Of course, one of the main thing we're hearing from farmers is this need for fair pricing, for fair remuneration, and also for rebalancing the power in the agri-food chain, and also to have this overarching vision, as we spoke about, and this SFS law was supposed to do that. I'm not sure what components will come back. As I understand it, there's discussions on the public procurement side, which was one of the tools that could help in terms of pricing and in terms of generating a market for farmers. There are other policies as well, I'm sure we will see again. We haven't finished discussions on the NGT file, for example, the new genomic techniques. Although the pesticides, the sustainable use of pesticides regulation, that obviously died, there's still lots of concerns from the ground from citizens about pesticides, about animal welfare. So I'm sure all these themes will also be coming back in the next mandate.
And on the FSFS, the Framework Initiative on Food System,
yes.
Would you see it coming back in the same shape or with a different type of action?
Yeah. It's hard to say, yeah, it's very difficult to say. I'm not really sure. At this stage, it's difficult to say how much of the Green Deal approach will really carry through to the next mandate. I'm not sure that's going to be the same kind of direction. I think there is call for a harmonisation of policies, and I think that is something we've seen in the Farm to Fork. There needs to be a harmonised approach that takes a look at all the policies together. So something like this law, is supposed to help that. Whether it will come back in that shape and form, I don't know, or whether it will be bit parts of it, I'm not sure, but remains to be seen.
Do we have questions from the audience? Again, don't hesitate. Maybe we'll see later. But please, again, use the QR if you have any question. Should we continue with a section that will be a little bit different from what we do usually?
Okay.
So we will have a section that we call this or that, or it's also a rapid fire question style. So we're going to propose you
really grilling me, putting me on the spot.
Trying to have your preferences on a few topics. So we're going to give you two options. You have to choose one, but with a very limited amount of time.
Okay.
So I guess we can start. We have an amazing crew also in the technical cabin, so we will have a timer and we will start. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's try. Let's start. We try with an easy one. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Cap reform or trade negotiation?
Cap reform.
Interview with a commissioner or an MEP?
Which commissioner? Which MEP? Commissioner.
Brussels or Strasbourg?
Brussels.
Panel or speeches?
Panel.
Comagri or agrifish?
Comagri.
Article or podcasts?
Podcast.
Tractor or scooter?
Tractor.
Farm visit or networking event?
Always farm visit. Always.
Nice. Cows or pigs?
Pigs, my favourite.
Cows or goats?
Cows.
Tractors on the street, tractors on the field?
Tractors on the field.
Which country's got the best cheese?
France.
Commission press briefing or agrifish press briefing?
Oh, God. Commission press briefing, I guess.
An explanation or?
I don't know. Can get spicier. Depends.
Influencer or journalist?
Journalist.
Soils or NGTs?
I didn't catch the last.
Soils or NGTs?
Soil.
Soil.
Yeah.
Soils. All right. Well, I think that's all for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
Welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice answers. And then I would say we are now going to have a small video break with a video about the Safe Habitus project. It's a project that's very close to our heart at CEJA. It's a project about occupational health and safety on farms. So let's see this video.
I'm David Meredith. I'm the leader of the Safe Habitats project, which is funded by the EU through the Horizon Euro programme. The project seeks to improve working conditions in agriculture by tackling critical health and safety challenges faced by farmers and farm workers right across the EU.
Agriculture is hard work, but actually to support them in this hard work, because we actually need farmers. We need farmers because we depend on them. We depend on their products. So we as a society, we are very much interested that we keep farmers going on with their activities and that we secure our food security.
Farmers have some kind of better peak of what is happening right now.
It's not so easy sometimes to be and to continue to be a farmer in some area, and we can see that there are also some strong issues about mental health or even sometimes suicide also. So we will see how deep we will go on these topics, in fact.
The first objective of the project is to enhance understanding and awareness of just the scale of that challenge right across the EU. The second objective then is to try and improve the data infrastructure, but also the policy infrastructure as well, by highlighting good policy frameworks and good governance frameworks. And we do that at both the national and the EU level. And then the third element is to develop new social innovation approaches.
Causes are a bit different in different countries. Therefore, they're going to try to develop experimentations in 11 different countries and to go through this social innovation process in order to identify what are the needs in each country and to try to create new solutions all together.
To develop communities of practice in 11 countries across the EU to empower them to identify solutions to some of the critical issues that they're facing.
We are starting a community of practice because farm needs these kind of safety issues to be handled, and when the farm size is getting bigger, also in Finland, those things are even more interesting and important. And I think that we need a forum and platform to discuss with different experts about these issues.
And what makes the Safe Habitus Cups special is that they are bringing together actors from different sectors, what we call in research and innovation the multi-actor approach.
The benefits of being involved in big pan-European projects that, you just get other perspectives, and we don't have all the good ideas, so we can learn from other people and other organisations.
We all have to learn from one another. All of us around the world are experiencing the same things. We all have rural communities, so it is important that we all come together, any organisation out there, and link in.
Session, a pinch of innovation. This time around with 3 guests. We have Charles Welbes, young farmer from Luxembourg. We have Mariana De Bernardini from Wageningen University and Research. And we have Fabio Cosu from DG Agri, Unit A1 Policy Perspective from the European Commission. Very warm welcome to you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we start, a very quick reminder for the people at the other side of the screen. This is an interactive show, so we need your questions. Feel free to send your urgent questions also to this wonderful 3 guests we have now in this pinch of innovation. And having said this, welcome to you. Welcome, Charles. You are a farmer from Luxembourg. Could you maybe explain to us what innovative practices you have implemented on your farm and the reasons behind them? And I also see that you have something very interesting on that chair there. Can you maybe let us know more about it?
Yes, like you see, I brought popcorn that we produce on our farm, but let's explain me how does it came that I could take this today? It was not so easy, this production over the years, than take it today. We started 4 years ago when I came home on the farm. We had a traditional farm system. My father had a farm with beef cattle, cereals and corn. I always wanted to make something innovative, not to continue like father and grandfather. And so we came on special cultures like popcorn, but also quinoa, sweet corn, and also vegetable production that we make pour a little bit of garlic. We plant a fruit plantation with apples. And so it continue. And one very important thing if you make innovations on the farm and make new productions, it's the market. That's very important if you produce something in general, not only for innovations, but it's even more important for innovations because you take some risks on your farm that you have a market that take it.
How to sell it, how to
people,
find...
Yeah, people that buy it. And we, in our case, we have a really good partner, one of the biggest growers in Luxembourg that take all of our products. Another possibility is direct selling, but we tried also with direct selling. It's only a little part of our production that we made in direct selling.
Maybe before other questions, can we try it?
Yeah, we want a little ASMR moment for the audience.
Yes, sure, you can try it.
Thank you.
I don't know for the microphone how difficult it can be, but nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you very much. That's the advantage of being here in the studio.
Oh, it's good.
We're going to have it also after for the studio. But you said marketing is the difficult part. Does it mean that the fact that you change the crops that you're sowing, like, does it mean that it's easier, or how is it on that side?
Let's say like that, we are farmers, so we know to work in the fields and in nature and with cultures, with new cultures on the farm. It can be sometimes difficult to know, but there is people over the world, and if you ask or try to get information, you get them.
So it's all about trying new things.
Yes, it's about trying, that's right. And with the production, you do a production, and if it don't work, you can try it again. And if it take the mistakes and do it better. But with the market, if there isn't any market, you can create it, but it's hard work, and it's not so easy as dual production.
Yeah, it comes with an economic perspective in it. So trying is also what is the aim of projects, somehow, to make a transition. So Mariana, you coordinate the global network of lighthouse farms. So could you explain us what is this project and how you work in it?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me here. I'll try not to cough out the popcorn, which was delicious. Stuck in my throat. So I coordinate the global network of lighthouse farms. This is a project based in Wageningen University in the Netherlands, which I see is nicely represented behind me with some clogs. We work with farming systems researchers. And we often get asked as researchers, what does a future sustainable food system look like? What does the future of agriculture, what kind of business models, what kind of farming systems should we have, are we going to have? And there's different ways to approach that question. One of the ways is with models. We can make some assumptions, put in some numbers, and then get a few scenarios from that. And it's a really useful way to understand different trade-offs. But that also only gets us so far. And actually, we found that some of the most innovative people, like Charles here, are those actually on the land, innovating day in and day out, because they find so many small challenges that they have to find the solution for, because that's their livelihood. So we found farmers all over the world that aren't taking mini steps, but that have taken radical steps to completely redesign their farming system. And we call these farmers lighthouse farmers. And we've brought them together in this network, because each of these farmers represents a completely diverse type of farming system. You have very large-scale farms in Serbia. You have very small-scale communities in Ethiopia. You have farms in semi-arid climates in Spain, with tropical conditions in Brazil. And because of their different conditions, because of their different starting points, they've actually identified very different pathways towards sustainability. So we have organic farmers, but we also have farmers who focus on circularity, farmers who focus on climate-smart agriculture, on biodiversity, on regenerative agriculture, on agroecology as their main approach. And we have vegan farmers. We also have livestock farmers. We bring them all in the network. And that's such a crucial part of this project, because we want to show that there really is not one business model, but there's a whole diversity of business. There's as many sustainable farms as there are farms out there. And the question is, how can we support farmers to get there? And what we're learning, actually, from working with these front runners, from working with these lighthouse farmers, is that even if a farmer knows what they have to do, they know exactly how to increase biodiversity, they know exactly how to mitigate climate change or adapt to climate change or whatever it is their objective, they face all sorts of different challenges. I mean, I see this little disc arrow here. Maybe a farmer knows that they want to try minimum tillage, but there's just not enough machines available in their region. Or maybe a farmer knows that they want to have a more diverse type of system, like Charles was mentioning, but they face all sorts of administrative issues. They're not getting the right advisory services. They're not getting the right type of maybe data, soils data, or different types of data that they need on the farm to know how to manage their farm.
And is it about identifying what could be missing, as you say, or also in the project giving them all the tools they would wish for and see if it's workable?
It's a great question. We are not in the business of advising farmers because we can't tell a farmer in Ethiopia and Indonesia and Brazil how to farm. That's not our role. But what our role is to bring together this big diversity of solutions and to inspire the policymakers, the agribusiness leaders who are setting up different supply chains, researchers, advisory systems, to get them to rethink what does sustainability look like. And of course, we hope that we inspire farmers
Being the
as well.
driving seat as
Exactly, exactly. And we hope we inspire farmers as well. And a lot of the farms themselves do inspire the farms and work with farmers.
Thank you very much, Mariana. And it's right, you describe it very well. The debate, sustainability all across the world, it's complex. And I think that young farmers can often feel excluded from this whole innovation process. That's why we are counting on you today, Fabio. From the perspective of the European Commission, what could be the different pathways of inclusion of young farmers to bring research and practice closer together?
Yeah. Thank you. I think that already the answer is in the fantastic stories from Charles and Mariana. I think, first of all, it must be said that farmers, young farmers, but farmers of all age, are innovators by nature. They are always being reinventing the business to adapt practices on the fields in changing circumstances, provided they have the space to try new things, fail sometimes, meet people with the knowledge that they deserve. And it's basically what we in the Commission, we've been trying to do in the last 10 years. So under the umbrella of the European Innovation Partnership for Agriculture. I explained briefly. Basically, on the one hand, we have the Common Agricultural Policy that we talked about before. Through that, we really create the space for this meeting of people to happen. We provide support basically through cooperation project where farmers can meet their advisors, researchers, members of NGOs, even school students sometimes, and they come together, each one with their own expertise, competencies, and they co-create, as we say in jargon, they co-develop some innovative solution for the farm business that are centered around the farmer's own need. And this is absolutely crucial because this is what makes the farm then work practically with innovation afterwards, and also spread the news. In the past 7 years, I mean, we were quite successful. Through the EU budget, the support, we're given rise to almost 3,200 of these projects across Europe. So it means an equal number of innovations basically already available in the field. And in the next 5 years, we expect to see almost the double amount of this kind of project to pop up. At this only one side of the story, because this project, they happen really at the very local level. So they are built around farmers and their needs. Then under the European Research Innovation Framework Program that you might know as Horizon, we support instead larger transnational projects with a multitude of partners, so in big consortia, but they apply the same innovation principle. So really trying to mix up different competencies, different sectors sometimes also, and co-create, co-develop innovations. And there also farm business may participate. Actually, I'm very encouraged to participate. And this project, of course, are bigger in scale. The aim is not only to advance knowledge, bring it to the field, but sometimes simply collating the existing knowledge and making more digestible and usable for what we call the practitioners, which means the farmers, but also foresters, other rural businesses. So, I mean, in this system, there are really plenty of opportunity for young farmers to jump on board one of these projects and start innovating.
Yeah, so as we often say, there's not only the CAP, but there's also the Horizon project framework, all the projects surrounding it.
Yes, that's the beauty.
It's not only about the CAP when we talk about agricultural policy. So thank you very much, Fabio. Let's now see a testimony that was sent from a young farmer and forest owner from Finland, Eva. We're going to watch the testimony and we'll be back after.
I am Eeva Harhala, future dairy farmer and forest owner from Finland. Finland is the land of forests and forest owners. 86% of Finland is covered with forest and 60% of that is owned by private owners. And I have to add, 25% of forest owners are women. Our farm has 50 hectares of forest and it is an important part of our farm. We Finns are proud of our forests. We have history of forest research for over 100 years and combining that with forest management plans, our forests grow annually over 100 million cubic meters. That is more than what is cut every year. Forest management in our farm is planned. After each final cut, which are usually made after 60 to 100 years of growing, forest owners are obligated to plant new trees or seeds to that area. This is a requirement according to law. During that 60 to 100 years of growth, we forest owners thin the forest out to make sure the trees have enough space and light to grow efficiently. The trees we get from thinning are sold to pulp production, where it is then processed into products such as paper or cardboard. Some of the trees are used for energy production, as on our farm. We use the trees from thinning of our own forests to heat our farm during the winter, which in Finland can be harsh. By burning wood chips, we keep our house, water and cows warm. We really have a local energy source. Forests in Finland are important, not only economically, but also for carbon sequestration, nature and recreational areas. And as you know, our farm staying warm during the winter.
So Eva showed us how forests are a central part in the circularity on her farm. She showed us also about all the additional activities they are involved in. This is also has been a central topic in some EU projects. And I'm turning myself to Fabio again. Seeking further farmer involvement in research projects, you explained it's very important. It's also important for the future of agriculture. What are the European Commission view on this issue, and how do they facilitate the intervention of farmers in there?
Yeah, I insist that the farmers' participation in this kind of innovation projects it's really crucial. I think we are past away, hopefully, from this vision of a linear model where innovations and knowledge is produced somewhere very far away from the field, in a lab or in a research center, and then the farmers come at the very end of the process and say, "Oh, we have a new technology, new product. Let's go on the field and let's try to apply it." And maybe it's not at all what the farmer would need in that circumstance at that time. So it's important, and that's what we're trying to stimulate also through the European Innovation Partnership, is that farmers are not there as a subject or stakeholders or test bed, but really in the driving seat, so together with other people that are necessary at the stage. Because with their involvement, we are sure that what is produced, the novel solutions that are put in place, are centered around their needs, they are catered, and the farmers at the end use them. And you know how it goes with farmers and everyone. You speak to neighbors are excited about something that works, and then they apply, and there is a snowball effect. We had an earlier assessment of our innovation system has showed that quite a large majority of the projects that were set up across Europe had farmers as a lead partner, so in the driving seat. So this is excellent, because what we wanted, and since then we also worked harder to make their participation in this project even less burdensome.
How do you react to this, Charles? Like the farmers' involvement? Are you yourself involved in any project, or in general maybe?
Yeah, there are projects where farmers are involved. Yeah, that's right. In some countries, in Luxembourg too, and I know about other projects where farmers are involved since the beginning. Sometimes project takes only a few months, sometimes a few years. But we have, in general, one big problem that with the bureaucracy in agriculture. Another problem is that we have, if it continue like that, the system, we have one time more people in offices that delegate the farmers and take decisions about us than farmers and people that work.
And how are you supported? We know. I know that we had the question from the audience. Actually, someone asked the question to you, Charles. What support did you receive in the transition you explained at the beginning?
Yeah. I only can talk about Luxembourg, and I have to say that we have in this CAP really good supportment for innovations in agriculture. But the reason for this is that we didn't have it until now, so hopefully maybe in the next 5 years. People make transitions on the farm. After this, we don't know what will happen with the CAP. But also the idea is, if we make an innovation on the farm, that you can live with this production, and you get more independent of subsidies and CAP in general.
Mariana, how do you react on this farmers' involvement and?
I think it's extremely important to take into consideration that there's, I look at our university, for example, and if we take Horizon Europe, we have professionals within the university that do all of the administrative work in terms of following up on deliverables, making sure that all the finances are checked, because it's an extremely bureaucratic process, as you were mentioning. And so I think it's also not that easy to involve farmers in research and just to say, okay, you can be a partner here, be a partner. I think there is still some work that we have to do to make the administrative process and that co-creation process work. Because oftentimes we also see that the research questions that the farmers have don't always align with the type of research questions that researchers are looking for. There's a lot of progress though, and I think the action innovations from the Commission have been really nice in terms of bringing farmers more into the process and allowing them to actually receive some immediate benefit on the farm in terms of data, in terms of understanding their farming system or advisory systems.
Let's have another testimony now. We had Kevin already before. We're going to have a second video from Kevin, so let's watch it.
And I was also asked about some good skills that I bring to my farm, and and maybe I would say is having a good attitude. And why be grumpy and sad all the time? Why not just have a good time, which I think I'm really good at. I really like what I do. Bring a good. Yes, there are bad days, but there's a lot more good days than there are bad days. So why let a bad day ruin something that's fun? So I think I'm really good at managing problems, but also keeping a great attitude and having a great view on what you're doing and appreciate it also.
It's interesting because usually when we talk about farming, we think of the very technical skills. But here what Kevin is talking about is a bit more of a mindset, solving problems, being proud of his job. Maybe Charles, on that, apart what makes very good popcorn, that is already a very good skill. But What is for you a very important skill that you would need as a farmer and maybe as an advice also?
Like Kevin said, there are good days and bad days. I think in every job you have good days and bad days. So yeah, and what is important also if as a young farmer, and not only young farmer, you said before, there are also from every age farmers that innovate and find new innovations on their farm. Don't be shy and don't be afraid of doing something, and do what you like, and stay behind what you're doing.
Fabio, what will be the skill, or maybe the skill that the European Commission should support more?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we talk about skills in agriculture, because we don't talk enough about it, at least under this angle. And I think that the agri-food sector, the farming sector, as any other sector, is really in desperate need of rebuilding skills. So we talk about skill development, upskilling, reskilling, with a lifelong perspective. But in terms of skills, there's evidence that points that definitely at the top ranks are for skills that are related to the green and digital transitions, or more concretely, those skills that farmers need to work with nature, work differently with natural resources, to increase soil health, for example, try stuff like crop diversification, crop rotation, agroforestry, but also definitely basic digital literacy, because digital will be more and more pervasive. But I think we must not underestimate also skills related to business, business administration, business development, soft skill like communication, networking, adaptability. These are absolutely key.
And Mariana, what will be the skill that you will describe, and maybe also in the project, what are the skills that farmers are learning, like the new skills maybe through the project that helps?
I think one of the common themes that we find with all of the lighthouse farmers, no matter where in the world, whether it's Colombia or Kurdistan or Indonesia or Ireland, is
Does it cover all continents, the project, or?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oceania we're missing, so almost. But
so I understand it is one of the aims.
Yeah. We hope to cover all of the continents. But what we see across all of these farms is that they say, I'll quote our Austrian farmer Alfred Grand, that the only constant is change. And this is really a motto, maybe they're easily bored, or maybe they're looking for new ways to get excited about their jobs, but it's a process. It's not an end goal. None of them are working towards, one model that they say, okay, enough. It's a constant process. And I think nowadays with the climate changing so rapidly and so many different changes happening in the world, we're finding that this constant innovation is really part of their resilience as farms.
Nice.
That's a great answer. We have questions from the audience. I'm going ahead with them. I would say that we can maybe... there is a question of Julian. I think we can go ahead with that one. Talking about innovation, are NGTs the silver bullet for farmers' challenges like droughts, etc.?
Should we ask the European Commission?
Maybe the European Commission?
Of course, why not? I think, as any other kind of technological innovation, also NGTs are their raison d'être, even though I think their actual impacts needs to be demonstrated. But no, I don't think that with any kind of innovation, the silver bullet exists, because it's always a question of bringing the innovation that is needed in that moment to that farmer in the specific situation. So yes, they can be part of a solution, but of a wider spectrum of innovation that are sometimes are not only technological, but as we heard also from the examples, are about doing things simply differently on the field or organizing the business differently.
Great answer. So, Julian, you got your answer. Maybe we take another one?
Yeah, sure. So then, how to make sure that the results created in R&I projects are available and usable directly by farmers and foresters? So this one would go maybe more to you, Mariana.
That's a really, really great question. I think one of the ways to make sure that the results are usable by farmers is by including them at the beginning of the process, which is what we were discussing earlier. So by already creating research questions together with farmers, we can start to see that there is at least some usability for them. Beyond that, there's a really important translation part that comes after the end of the research. How can this be translated? Because oftentimes there's a very big gap in maybe what you read in a paper and then how that can be used. And that's where agriculture knowledge and innovation systems really play a key role in doing this translation. We need empowered and prepared advisory systems that have the time and the mandate to stay up to date and translates all of this immense research that's coming out and then synthesize it for farmers.
Nice.
And foresters.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a great answer as well. And I see one question that is maybe also relating to Kevin's video from Katarina. How do you see social aspects and mental health of farmers represented in the CAP? Maybe from a farmer perspective, Charles, and maybe then to Fabio as well as a complement. Hard question.
Yeah, hard question. I think it's individual, how we are represented on.
You were talking also about problems of farmers facing some difficulties, sometimes feeling alone. Do you feel like it is something that is well taken into account? Being alone sometimes being.
I think it's independent from in different countries of the different governments, but otherwise I think that the young farmers and every farmers organizations do a good job, as CEJA too, to represent them well. And if someone has requirements as young farmer for government or for the work of the young farmers organizations, I think we are open all the time for all
It's a network, and it's the peers that can also help having a discussion.
Yes.
From your perspective, Fabio, on this?
Yes, I think that social aspect has been brought forward in the current common agricultural policy that just started last year. We introduced this new aspect of social conditionality that basically links the payment of support to farmers to the respect of basically legislation that regulated the aspect of for example, of safety and health in the workplace. So this was really a novelty. But mental health aspect, this is not easy. I think this is a really serious issue for the sector, which is also testified by the sometimes higher number of suicide, especially among farmers in certain part of Europe. And this goes, I think, beyond the common agricultural policy. This is and starts, in my opinion, also with rebalancing and the image of the farming sector in the eye also of the public.
We are at the end of our session, but maybe before we close, because of you are the farmer, and we talk about so many skills that are required. It could be scary for someone that would like to start farming. So what would be your advice in the face of all those big challenges? What's your advice to someone who would like to start?
First, learning by doing. Don't be afraid of something new. Try if you. And one important thing is make an analysis of your farm and see what you can change or what you can do of innovations on this farm system that you have at this time to not risk to make too much invest. That's also one important point. Not make too much invest before you are not sure that the idea that you have will be a success or not.
Sounds very clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I would say thank you very much to you all for coming. Thank you for the very interesting discussion we had. And we are now coming to the last part of today's show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Last part of today's Late Show, we are happy to welcome CEJA's Vice President, Rudolf Pulsklenis. Welcome.
Hello.
Could you give us a bit of an idea of who you are, what's your pathway, and what led you to become CEJA Vice President?
Oh, it's a little bit crazy story.
We like crazy stories.
We like them.
So I was working in the bank for 7 years. It was really exciting time, but then I get bored. So needed to find another job to do. So and ended up in farming. Started from scratch, from zero, and now I'm a small farmer, organic cereal farmer in my village. And also, within the time, I understand that I need to surround me with other young farmers. So I joined my national young farmers organization, and within time, I started to participate in government. Ministry, meetings, saying what we need, how we look at the other angles from these different angles, and later on started to represent my national interests in CEJA.
And banking was boring.
No,
is farming boring?
No.
Would you feel like it will become boring and change again? Or
no, they both were exciting. Okay, banking were exciting and farming is still exciting, but I felt that I didn't get enough energy that fulfilled me to continue working in bank. So I just decided to do something that fulfills me more, working with soil.
Yeah. So being CEJA Vice President, it means that you were before a member, as you just explained, like being involved at national level.
Yes.
How has it been so far, the experience, both as a CEJA member and now as a CEJA Vice President in the board?
Okay. So as a member, as representative of a national organization, it was easier. It was more. It was not so, I would say, it was easier a lot than being as vice president of CEJA, because as vice president I need to prepare a lot more for the voice of young farmers of Europe, not only national interests. So it's different aspects and angles that I need to.
So it's
away.
You take it as a big responsibility that you have to carry.
That's actually a quite good transition for our next question, because you have been leading CEJA efforts leading to the European election campaign with the publication of a manifesto. We have it right here. Can you tell us more about this and what's in there?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's our CEJA manifesto of 10 points that we want to improve in the next parliament session in 5 years, that we see that are the priorities we want to achieve better environment for us, for young farmers. So to mention top 5, it's access to investments, it's climate change and water, it's access to land, it's also future of the CAP that we are working on, and it's also, as we spoke before in the studio, it's about education, knowledge, skills, and innovations. So and there are 5 more points.
And how does it work to create this? Because CEJA is a big network. Could you maybe explain a bit about the process also to come up with those 10 points together as European young farmers?
Oh, it was not so easy and also not so hard. So we have a lot of policy papers that have been made before. So, and in starting from September in 3 working groups, we made like priorities. What are these up to date, the most important for us? And discussed with our members who should be the first one, the second one, the last one. But still, there are a lot of other issues that we want to improve in our policy and to see that our policymakers improve within our daily jobs, daily work. So, yeah, and after 3 working groups, we had a political cafe where we invited all the political groups of European Parliament and discussed with them what they think about our points. And they had 4 minutes to represent themselves and to invite us to vote also for them.
Yeah, so it's about the position itself and also how you make it visible afterwards. And if we had to keep one message out of it, what would be the main message to keep out of this manifesto and out of what CEJA is doing for the EU elections? And
okay, I would say that together we, as young farmers, other stakeholders, other institutions, policymakers, together we can make a win-win situation if we discuss all of the issues we have together and make the future for our farmers and young farmers. And also, as mostly we speak that we are young farmers here at this moment and we want generational renewal, but we are in the steps that we also look for our next generation. So it's not only today's view.
That's a great way to end this section, and thank you very much, Rudolf. And I would say let's see what comes next with after the European elections.
Eager to know.
Yes, thank you very much, Rudolf. So it's time to thank you all for your attention tonight. It was a pleasure to have you for our Young Farmers Late Show.
We are looking forward to seeing you again in the future in another project. Follow our social media to stay tuned.
Thank you, bye.
Goodbye.